Forbes magazine out with its list of the highest paid musicians. 4 out of the 5 are women. We are breaking down the numbers ahead. All of those stories coming up this morning. And with me this morning to talk all about it, Fox Business Network's Dagen McDowell, Recon Capital Chief Investment Officer Kevin Kelly, National Review reporter, Fox News contributor Kat Timpf. Good to see you.
Good to see you always, all of you.
Good morning. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
We're feeling, Kat.
Yeah.
Hey, how about all those women? The women on the top of the music list.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'd
if you
love to
listen
be
to
a
them.
singer. I'd love to be a
okay.
singer.
Yeah.
Love
But
Taylor
my
Swift.
voice has this octave and that's it, so.
Actually, I always wanted to be a backup singer. I did.
I'll do the dancing then.
No, that was the whole point, the move.
So you were going to have the little shimmy.
Moves,
Like
that's why I
Motown?
wanted to be backup.
And do the doo-wop.
I digress.
I digress.
Nothing back up about you.
Really? Okay. Well, that was my dream. Coming up this morning, former U.S. Ambassador to the UN, John Bolton, is with us. Ambassador Bolton is going to be joining us momentarily, bringing some priceless Muhammad Ali memorabilia this morning from Julian's Auctions. The president and CEO of Julian's, Darren Julian, is with us this morning. And California Congressman Darrell Issa after his victory yesterday. Democrats are lashing out meanwhile this morning. Senators Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren slamming President-elect Donald Trump's nomination of Steven Mnuchin for Treasury Secretary. Warren released a statement, and she says this: Steve Mnuchin is the Forrest Gump of the financial crisis. I think I was really taken aback by this comment, by the way.
Yeah, I was taken aback by this comment, too, just given the fact that she's probably the Pocahontas of affirmative action, considering she lied about her ethnicity to get a job. So, I mean, for her to throw a stone at a glass house is pretty interesting.
I mean, Forrest Gump?
Why name calling?
Yeah,
Why
exactly.
name calling?
Terrible.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, yesterday, Mnuchin was here. I spoke with him about his time at Goldman Sachs and his move to Washington. Listen.
As it relates to Goldman Sachs, I had a terrific career there. I haven't been there since 2002. I spent most of the last 8 years as a regional banker, understanding what this country needs in terms of regional banks and working with banks. And although we control the House and the Senate, it'll be my job to work with the Democrats as well in making sure that we work together as a team in getting things passed.
Joining us right now is Fox News contributor Rachel Campos-Duffy and National Review senior editor Jonah Goldberg. Good to see you both. Thanks so much for joining us.
Great to be here.
Rachel,
Thanks for having me,
Democrats have been critical of Mnuchin, and of course that bubbled up after Trump consistently slammed large financial institutions like Goldman Sachs on the campaign trail. How can Trump instill confidence across the aisle in this nomination? What's your take on it?
Well, look, to be fair, it doesn't matter who Trump picks. I think that Warren and Sanders are not going to be happy with anyone he picks because they are not happy about American banking. They don't want it to succeed. They don't want American capital markets to succeed. I think that I am concerned, though, that, he did say he's going to drain the swamp, and this pick doesn't look like draining the swamp. I frankly think he would have had a better choice in Jeb Hensarling, who's the chairman of Financial Services. He's somebody who understands the issues at hand. He's a free market, conservative, very principled guy. I think he could have avoided some of the accusations of picking somebody from Wall Street.
Maybe, but I mean, having a business guy in there, even a Wall Street guy in there, perhaps cures some of the ills that we've seen, given the fact that, business stopped. They're sitting on cash. They're not doing anything. They're not lending. Perhaps this loosens up as a result of this pick, specifically this pick.
Yeah, the problem with that argument is that we've had guys from Goldman Sachs holding this job for almost a decade.
Okay.
If that's the argument that we need a Wall Street guy in there to fix things, how come things are a mess in the first place? Mm-hmm. I think the hypocrisy argument is a perfectly valid one. I think it's a great debating point. I also think politically it doesn't matter at all. If Mnuchin's a success, if the economy gets going, Trump's hardcore supporters forgive him everything. They're certainly going to forgive him this if he's a success, and if he's a failure, well, then we got bigger problems to have. This is a lot of sound and fury from the Democrats that means very little.
Yeah, Dagen, what do you think?
Well, because people talk about Goldman Sachs as if you worked at Goldman Sachs, they're all just a bunch of bots, and that they all think and behave exactly the same way. And there was something that Lou Eisenberg mentioned yesterday, who was on the fundraising team for Donald Trump, is on the inaugural committee now, or running it. is that it's a process. It is about teamwork, and it's results driven.
But Dagen, to be fair, Trump participated in that a little bit. He criticized Hillary for it. He also criticized Ted Cruz for Goldman Sachs connections. Well, so I agree with you that they're not, but. Yeah.
That's a good point, yeah.
Well, that was broadly speaking because Hillary Clinton raised
that was hypocrisy on her part
from Wall Street, which was clearly a bad bet. They gave Donald Trump, people who work on Wall Street gave Donald Trump very little money and, quite frankly, zero credit going into the election. And you know what? It slapped him in the face.
Yeah.
Because they poured money down a black hole into Hillary Clinton's campaign. And so have fun with that.
One thing that I brought up yesterday with both Wilbur Ross and Steve Mnuchin was that where were all the CEOs during the campaign? I mean, look what has happened. They're about to get their tax cut, their taxes cut. They're about to get all these regulations rolled back, and their stock prices have gone up about 8 to 10% just in the last couple of weeks since the election. Agreed. How come they weren't thinking about shareholders during the campaign?
I would like to say that you brought up that great point, and their answer was even better. It was small and medium-sized businesses that did support them, and were those CEOs that needed the benefit of this. The big, large corporations wanted crony capitalists, Hillary Clinton, back in there because they could use their positions to outmaneuver the tax system, and they have lobbyists and lawyers do everything to their benefit. That's why small businesses are benefiting the most and supported them in this regard. But I think the important thing is that Donald Trump never served a day in political office. Same with Steve Mnuchin, same with Wilbur Ross. It's part of the narrative of draining the swamp that he's trying to direct, and I think this is good for his supporters.
The Wall Street Journal disagrees with you, particularly on Wilbur Ross. They said that the Commerce Department is a giant organization of crony capitalism, and they are concerned that it will be meting out favors to American corporations, maybe even in the form of tariffs. That's in the editorial page.
He said no tariffs yesterday, though. He said he's going to focus on the exports as opposed to their imports.
They're concerned.
So a real negative op-ed on the pitch.
It's negative.
Maybe they should give him a chance then.
It's not scathing, but they refer to the pair as underwhelming.
It's chirping. It's kind of like chirping.
It's not complimentary, shall we say.